You know what they say about renovations. They either bring couples together or tear them apart like cheap wallpaper. Guess which category I fell into. It was past midnight when I heard Veronica giggling like a schoolgirl in the kitchen, her voice carrying through the thin walls of our supposedly solid suburban home. I was in the master bedroom, scraping decades-old floral wallpaper that looked like someone had vomited roses all over our walls. The irony wasn't lost on me, stripping away the pretty façade to reveal the ugly truth underneath. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Oh my God, Derek, you're terrible," she whispered into her phone, thinking I couldn't hear. "No, Rob's upstairs playing with his little renovation project. He's so boring. I swear he gets more excited about paint samples than he does about me." I stopped scraping. The putty knife felt heavy in my hand. Cancun is going to be amazing. Just you, me, and that infinity pool you keep talking about. Another giggle. "What?" "No, he thinks I'm going with the girls from work. God, he's so clueless." 23 years of marriage, and apparently I was clueless. I'd built my home repair business from nothing, working 16-hour days to give her the life she wanted. The house, the cars, Angela's private school tuition, all of it came from my boring work with my hands. From Angela's room next door, I heard the familiar ping of her phone recording a TikTok. "So like my dad is literally the most boring person alive," she announced to her followers. "He's been scraping wallpaper for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Meanwhile, Mom's planning this amazing girls' trip to Cancun, and honestly, she deserves it. Living with him would drive anyone crazy." Great. My own daughter was roasting me for internet points. I looked around the bedroom. Half-stripped walls, drop cloths everywhere, my toolbox in the corner. This room used to be our sanctuary. Now it felt like a crime scene, and I was both the victim and the detective trying to piece together what went wrong. Veronica's voice drifted up again. "I can't wait to get out of this house, even if it's just for a week. Sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating here." That's when something cold settled in my chest. Not anger, not yet. More like clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when you finally see the picture that's been forming right in front of you. I walked to the window and looked out at our neighborhood. Maple Street, with its perfect lawns and perfect lies. Mrs. Henderson across the street was probably asleep, dreaming of her next batch of gossip. The Johnsons next door had their porch light on. They always left it on when they were fighting, like a beacon for dysfunction. Tomorrow, Veronica would leave for her girls' trip with Derek. Angela would probably post more videos about what a loser her father was. And I'd be here, alone with my wallpaper scraper and my newfound clarity. I pulled out my phone and called Jerome, my contractor buddy and probably the only person in this town who still told me the truth. "Rob, it's midnight, man. Everything okay?" "Jerome, remember what you said about the master bedroom? About how we could really transform it?" "Yeah, but Veronica said she didn't want us touching that room." I looked at the half-stripped walls, then at the framed photo of Veronica and me from our anniversary last year. We looked happy. We looked like liars. "Veronica's going out of town for a week. I think it's time we made some changes." "What kind of changes?" "The kind that'll make this place feel like home again." After I hung up, I went back to scraping wallpaper with renewed energy. Each strip that came off felt like shedding skin. By dawn, I'd cleared an entire wall, revealing the clean drywall underneath. Veronica came upstairs around 7, already dressed in her traveling outfit, designer jeans and a top that cost more than most people's car payments. "You were up all night?" she asked, not really caring about the answer. "Couldn't sleep. Figured I'd be productive." She glanced around the room with distaste. "This mess is going to be here when I get back, isn't it?" "Oh, the mess will definitely be different when you get back." She didn't catch the edge in my voice. She was too busy checking her phone, probably texting Derek about their romantic getaway. I'm leaving in an hour. Angela's staying at Madison's house while I'm gone, so you'll have the place to yourself. Try not to destroy it while I'm away. I'll do my best. She paused at the doorway. For a second, I thought she might say something real, something that acknowledged the 23 years we'd spent building this life together. Instead, she said, "There's leftover pizza in the fridge." And then she was gone. I waited until I heard her car pull out of the driveway, then called Jerome back. "How fast can you get here with your truck?" Jerome showed up with his pickup loaded with paint, brushes, and the kind of determination that comes from watching your best friend get played for a fool. He took one look at the bedroom and whistled low. "She's really doing this, isn't she?" "Cancun with her boyfriend. Told Angela and half the neighborhood it's a girls' trip." "Derek Morrison from the car lot? You know him?" Jerome snorted. "Sold my cousin a lemon last year. Guy's slicker than motor oil and twice as toxic." He set down his toolbox with a satisfying thunk. "So what's the plan, boss?" That's when I realized I'd been thinking about this longer than I'd admitted to myself. The plan had been forming in the back of my mind for weeks, maybe months, waiting for the right moment. "We're going to make this house mine again, starting with this room." We worked like men possessed. First, we finished stripping the wallpaper, every last piece of that floral nightmare. Then we spackled, sanded, and primed. Jerome had brought a color called midnight blue, dark and sophisticated, nothing like the pastel prison Veronica had created. While the first coat dried, we moved her stuff out. Not vindictively. I'm not a monster. I carefully packed her clothes, her jewelry, her collection of self-help books with titles like Find Your Inner Goddess and Why Good Women Stay with Bad Men. The irony of that last one wasn't lost on me. "Where you want these boxes?" Jerome asked. "Guest room. She can sort it out when she gets back." By noon, we'd transformed the space. The midnight blue walls made the room feel larger, more masculine. I'd kept the bed. It was a good mattress, but everything else was different. My dresser replaced hers. My books on the nightstand instead of her aromatherapy candles. The piece de résistance was the lock Jerome installed on the bedroom door. A good, solid deadbolt. "You sure about this?" he asked as he tested the mechanism. She wanted space. I'm giving her all the space she needs. We were admiring our work when my phone buzzed. Text message from a number I didn't recognize. The photo was grainy, obviously taken from a distance, but clear enough. Veronica and Derek in the parking lot of the Sunset Motel, about an hour outside town. She was pressed against his car, his hands on her waist, kissing like teenagers. The message below read, "Thought you should know what your wife does on her errands. More where this came from. A friend." I showed the phone to Jerome. He shook his head. "Damn, Rob, I'm sorry." "Don't be. This just makes everything easier." I screenshot the photo and saved it to a new folder on my phone. Evidence. Then I typed back, "Thanks for the heads up. Who is this?" The reply came quickly. "Someone who's tired of watching good people get screwed over. Check your email." My email had 3 new messages from the same anonymous account. More photos, timestamps going back weeks. Veronica and Derek at restaurants, holding hands at the movie theater, entering and leaving the motel. A whole relationship documented by someone with patience and a decent camera. "Who do you think it is?" Jerome asked. "Someone who knows both of us well enough to care. Someone who's been watching." The last email contained something different. Screenshots of text messages between Veronica and Derek. I recognized her number, and the content made my stomach turn. "Rob's so pathetic lately. All he cares about is that stupid house." "When are you going to leave him?" "Soon. I just need to figure out the finances. He built that business, but I helped. I deserve half of everything." "You deserve better than half. You deserve everything." I set the phone down and looked around the transformed bedroom. Our bedroom, my bedroom now. Jerome, what do you know about changing locks? On doors? We just did one. On everything. The whole house. He grinned. Now you're talking. We spent the rest of the afternoon securing my castle. New deadbolts on all exterior doors, new locks on the windows, even a new garage door opener. I changed the security system code while I was at it. By evening, the house felt different. Lighter somehow, like we'd exorcised a ghost. Jerome cracked open 2 beers from my fridge and handed me one. So what happens when she comes back? She'll figure it out. And Angela? That was the hard part. My daughter had made her feelings clear in her social media posts, but she was 17 and thought she knew everything. Maybe this would teach her something about loyalty. Angela made her choice. She can live with it. We were sitting on the back porch, admiring Jerome's truck loaded with Veronica's displaced belongings, when Mrs. Henderson appeared at the fence line. Robert, is everything all right? I saw all the activity today. Mrs. Henderson was the neighborhood's unofficial information minister. Whatever I told her would be common knowledge by morning. Just doing some home improvements, Mrs. Henderson. Veronica's out of town, so it seemed like a good time for projects. Oh, how nice. Where did she go? Cancun, with friends. Mrs. Henderson's eyebrows rose slightly. She'd probably seen Derek's car in our driveway enough times to put pieces together. Well, that sounds lovely. And you're redecorating? Making the house more comfortable for me. She nodded knowingly. Sometimes a man needs his space. My Harold was the same way. After she left, Jerome chuckled. You realize she's going to tell everyone you kicked Veronica out. Good. Let them talk. My phone buzzed again. Another message from my anonymous friend. Check Derek's Facebook. He's not as smart as he thinks. Derek's Facebook was public, and he'd posted a selfie 2 hours ago. Him and Veronica at what looked like a hotel bar, tropical drinks in hand, her head on his shoulder. The caption read, Paradise found with my beautiful lady. The idiot had tagged his location, Sunset Resort, Cancun. I screenshot that too and added it to my evidence folder. Then I did something that felt both petty and necessary. I shared the post to my own Facebook with the comment, Looks like my wife found her girls' trip. Happy for her. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Shocked faces, I'm so sorry messages, and a few, I knew something was up. Confessions from neighbors who'd apparently been watching the Derek situation unfold. Jerome read over my shoulder. Damn, Rob, you just nuked her from orbit. She wanted to play games. I'm just changing the rules. That night, I slept in my transformed bedroom, in my midnight blue sanctuary, with my new locks securing my castle. For the first time in months, I slept like a baby. Veronica's key didn't work. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard her car pull into the driveway. It was 7 a.m, 3 days earlier than she'd planned to return. Through the window, I watched her struggle with the front door, trying her key again and again. She walked around to the back door. Same result. Finally, she started pounding. Robert! Robert! What the hell did you do to the locks? I took my time finishing my coffee, then opened the door. She looked like she'd traveled all night, rumpled clothes, smeared makeup, fury radiating from every pore. Welcome home, honey. How was your girls' trip? Don't play dumb with me. Why don't my keys work? I upgraded the security system. You know how concerned I've been about break-ins lately. She pushed past me into the house, and I saw her take in the changes. New paint in the hallway, different furniture arrangement in the living room, her decorative candles replaced with my books and tools. What did you do to my house? Our house. I made some improvements while you were away. You said I should keep busy. She stormed upstairs, and I followed at a leisurely pace. The bedroom door was closed and locked. She rattled the handle. Robert, open this door right now. I'm afraid I can't do that. This is my bedroom now. Your things are in the guest room. The sound she made was somewhere between a scream and a growl. You can't lock me out of my own bedroom. Actually, I can. The house is in both our names, but that particular room is now my private space. I'm sure you understand the need for privacy. She spun around, and I could see her calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew. This is insane. You can't just change the locks and move my stuff around because you're having some kind of midlife crisis. I pulled out my phone and showed her Derek's Facebook post. Her face went white. How did you... The internet's a wonderful thing, Veronica. So are concerned neighbors. She sat down hard on the stairs. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Rob, I can explain. I'm sure you can. You always were good with words, but I don't need explanations. I need you to understand that things are different now. Different how? You wanted space. You wanted freedom. You wanted to explore your options. I sat down across from her on the narrow stairway. So I'm giving you exactly what you asked for. By locking me out of my own bedroom? By making it clear that actions have consequences. You chose Derek and Cancun over our marriage. That's fine. But you don't get to have both. She was quiet for a long moment, probably trying to figure out her next move. Finally, she said, I want a divorce. I figured, but we'll do this my way, on my timeline. You can't control me, Robert. I'm not trying to control you. I'm just not making it easy for you to control me anymore. She stood up and headed for the guest room, where her boxes were neatly stacked. A few minutes later, I heard her on the phone. Derek? Yeah, I'm back early. We have a problem. I went back to the kitchen and called Jerome. How'd it go? He asked. About like we expected. She's calling her lawyer next. You ready for that? I've been ready for months. An hour later, Veronica came downstairs dressed for battle, her best power suit, full makeup, briefcase in hand. I'm going to my office. When I come back tonight, I expect this nonsense to be over. Have a good day at work, dear. She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I was replacing a light fixture in the dining room when the police arrived. Officer Harris was a decent guy who'd been on the force for 20 years. He'd seen every kind of domestic situation imaginable. Morning, Rob. Got a call about a domestic disturbance. No disturbance here, Harris. Just home improvements. Mind if I come in? I showed him around, explaining the lock situation calmly and reasonably. The house was in both our names. I had every right to change the locks, and I'd made sure Veronica had access to her belongings and a place to stay. She says you locked her out. I secured my private space. She has access to the rest of the house, and her things are safely stored in the guest room. Harris looked around the transformed living space. You've been busy. Man's got to have a hobby. Any threats made? Any physical altercations? None whatsoever. Veronica's free to come and go as she pleases. She just can't access my bedroom without permission. Harris nodded. He'd probably seen worse situations every day of the week. Technically, you're within your rights. House is in both names. You haven't prevented her from accessing her belongings, and you haven't made any threats. That's what I figured. After Harris left, I noticed Mrs. Henderson watching from her window. I waved. She waved back and held up her phone, probably already texting the neighborhood group chat about the police visit. Good. Let them all know that Robert Miller wasn't the pushover they thought he was. That evening, Veronica returned with reinforcements, her sister Janet and Derek himself. I watched from the kitchen window as they huddled in the driveway, planning their strategy. The doorbell rang. Robert, Janet said when I opened the door, we need to talk. Janet was Veronica's older sister, a real estate agent who'd never liked me much. She thought Veronica had married beneath her station. Come on in. Derek, good to see you again. Derek looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else. He was younger than me, maybe 40, with the kind of artificial tan that came from a salon. His handshake was weak. Rob, look, This is all just a misunderstanding, he started. Is it? Which part? The part where you've been sleeping with my wife, or the part where you took her to Cancun? Veronica stepped forward. We didn't plan for this to happen. No, I'm sure it was all very spontaneous. The motel visits, the restaurant dates, the romantic getaway, all just spur-of-the-moment decisions. Janet's eyebrows shot up. Motel visits? I pulled out my phone and showed them the photos my anonymous friend had sent. Derek's face went red. Who took these? Does it matter? The point is, everyone knows now. Your Facebook post made sure of that. Derek looked at Veronica accusingly. You said he didn't know about Facebook. I didn't think he paid attention to social media. I pay attention to lots of things, Veronica. I just don't talk about everything I notice. Janet looked between her sister and Derek with disgust. Veronica, you idiot! You posted about this online? Derek posted it. I didn't know he was going to tag our location. I was enjoying watching their alliance crumble in real time. Here's what's going to happen, I said, settling into my favorite chair. Veronica, you can stay in the guest room until we sort out the divorce paperwork. Derek, you're not welcome in my house anymore. Janet, you can visit your sister, but I'd appreciate it if you kept the lectures to a minimum. You can't dictate who visits, Janet said. Actually, I can. This is my home, and I have the right to refuse entry to anyone I choose. Derek chose to sleep with my wife. He's no longer welcome. Derek stood up. This is bullshit. Veronica, you don't have to put up with this. Then take her to your place, I suggested. I'm sure you have room. Derek's silence was telling. Apparently his bachelor pad wasn't suitable for a long-term houseguest. After they left, Veronica sat in the living room staring at the wall. 23 years, she said finally. 23 years, I agreed. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did. She looked at me with something that might have been regret. What happens now? Now you decide what you want your life to look like, but you don't get to have it both ways anymore. That night, I heard her crying in the guest room. Part of me wanted to comfort her, but that part was getting smaller every day. Angela came home the next afternoon with the fury of a teenager who'd discovered her family drama had gone viral. She slammed through the front door like a hurricane in designer jeans. Dad, what the hell is wrong with you? I looked up from the kitchen table where I was sorting through insurance papers. Nice to see you too, sweetheart. How was Madison's house? Don't sweetheart me. Do you know what people are saying about our family? Madison's mom showed her your Facebook post. Madison's mom. What are they saying? That you're having a breakdown. That you kicked mom out of the house. That you're being vindictive and crazy. I set down the papers and really looked at my daughter. She was 17, beautiful like her mother, but with none of Veronica's subtlety. Everything Angela felt played across her face like a movie. Did anyone mention that your mother was cheating on me? That's different. How is it different? Because... She stopped, clearly not having thought that far ahead. Because you didn't have to embarrass her publicly. She embarrassed herself publicly. I just made sure people saw it. Angela threw herself into the chair across from me with theatrical despair. My friends are all texting me. They want to know if it's true, if you really changed the locks, if Mom is really dating Derek Morrison. What did you tell them? I told them my dad had lost his mind. And what do you think now? She was quiet for a moment, probably the longest she'd been quiet since walking in. I think you're both acting like children. Fair enough, but your mother started this game. I'm just playing by her rules. What rules? I pulled out my phone and showed her some of the text screenshots my anonymous informant had sent. The ones where Veronica called me pathetic, where she talked about taking half of everything I'd built. Angela read in silence, her expression shifting from anger to confusion to something that might have been understanding. She really said all this? She really did. And she's been seeing Derek for how long? At least 3 months, based on the evidence I have. Angela slumped in her chair. This is so messed up. Yes, it is. But Dad, you can't just lock her out of her own bedroom. It's not her bedroom anymore. She made her choice. But where is she supposed to sleep? The guest room, or Derek's place, or a hotel. She has options. Angela was processing this when Veronica came home from work. I could hear her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, the sound of a woman who meant business. Angela, thank God you're here. Veronica swept into the kitchen and hugged our daughter. Your father has completely lost his mind. Mom, I saw the texts. Veronica froze. What texts? Angela held up my phone. The ones where you call Dad pathetic, where you talk about taking his money. Angela, those are private messages taken out of context. What context makes it okay to call your husband pathetic? I stayed quiet and let them hash it out. This was between mother and daughter now. Sweetheart, you don't understand how complicated adult relationships are. I understand that you cheated on Dad and then called him names behind his back. Your father hasn't been emotionally available for years. He cares more about this house than he does about me. So you decided to sleep with Derek Morrison? It's not that simple. It sounds pretty simple to me. I watched my daughter grow up about 5 years in 5 minutes. The illusion of her parents' perfect marriage was crumbling, and she was seeing both of us clearly for the first time. I'm going to Madison's, Angela announced. Honey, wait, Veronica started. No, Mom, I need to think about all this, and I can't do it here with you two acting like this. After Angela left, Veronica and I sat in silence for a while. You turned our daughter against me, she said finally. I showed her the truth. She drew her own conclusions. Those texts were private. So was your marriage. But that didn't stop you from sharing it with Derek. She got up and poured herself a glass of wine. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And now we all have to live with the consequences. What do you want from me, Robert? I want you to stop pretending you're the victim here. I made a mistake. You made a choice, multiple choices, over several months. You chose to start a relationship with Derek. You chose to lie to me about Cancun. You chose to badmouth me to your boyfriend. These weren't mistakes. They were decisions. She took a long sip of wine. So what happens now? Now you decide what you want. Derek, or trying to fix this marriage. But you don't get both. And if I choose Derek, then we get divorced, split our assets, and move on with our lives. And if I choose to try to fix things? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was still beautiful, still the woman I'd fallen in love with 24 years ago. But something fundamental had changed, and I wasn't sure it could be repaired. Then you'd have to prove you're serious, and I'm not sure you can do that. Try me. Okay? Cut off all contact with Derek. Delete his number, block him on social media, tell him it's over, and mean it. I can do that. Move back into the guest room permanently. No access to my bedroom until I decide you've earned it back. Her jaw tightened, but she nodded. Go to marriage counseling with me. Real counseling, not just a few sessions to make yourself feel better. Fine. And acknowledge publicly that you had an affair. No more pretending this was just a misunderstanding or a mistake. Own what you did. Robert, those are my terms. Take them or leave them. She finished her wine in one long gulp. I need to think about it. Take all the time you need, but while you're thinking, Derek doesn't come to this house, and you don't go to his. That night, I heard her on the phone in the guest room. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. She was arguing with someone, probably Derek. Good. Let them fight about it. Let them both realize that sneaking around was easier than dealing with the real consequences of their choices. My phone buzzed with a text from my anonymous informant. Saw Derek's car at Murphy's bar tonight. He's not taking the separation well. Thought you should know. I typed back, "Thanks for the heads up. Any idea who you are yet?" "Soon, when the time is right." I was starting to suspect I knew who my mysterious ally was, but I'd wait for the revelation. In the meantime, I had a marriage to either save or end, and a house to defend. Either way, I was done being the fool. The call came at 6 in the morning. Melissa Chen, Veronica's best friend, maid of honor at our wedding, godmother to Angela, was sobbing into the phone. "Rob, I need to see you. Can you meet me at Murphy's before it gets crowded?" "Melissa? What's wrong?" "I can't do this anymore. I have to tell you everything." Murphy's bar was the kind of place that served coffee and regret in equal measure. I found Melissa in a corner booth, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and her designer clothes looked wrinkled. "You look terrible," I said, sliding into the booth across from her. "I feel worse." She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup like it was keeping her warm. "Rob, I'm the one who's been sending you the photos." I wasn't entirely surprised, but I let her continue. "I've been watching Veronica make a fool of herself for months. At first, I thought it was just a midlife crisis, something she'd get over. But then it got serious, and she started talking about leaving you, and I couldn't just watch her destroy everything. So you became my anonymous informant. I followed them. I took pictures. I sent you everything because I thought if you knew the truth, you could stop her before she went too far." "Why didn't you just tell me directly?" Melissa laughed bitterly. "Because I'm a coward. Because Veronica's been my best friend for 15 years, and I didn't want to be the one to blow up her marriage." "But you were okay with me doing it? I thought you'd confront her privately. I thought you'd fight for your marriage." She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "I didn't expect you to go nuclear. She cheated on me, Melissa. For months. What did you expect me to do? I don't know. Something less public." I studied her face. Melissa had always been the dramatic one in Veronica's friend group, the one who thrived on other people's secrets and problems, but this felt different. "There's something else, isn't there?" She nodded and pulled out her phone. "Derek's been bragging. About the affair, about how easy it was to seduce a married woman, about how he's going to convince Veronica to take you for everything in the divorce." She showed me screenshots of text messages between Derek and his buddies. My stomach turned as I read his crude descriptions of my wife, his plans to move in with her after the divorce, his jokes about upgrading from the old model. "He's been playing her, Rob, just like she's been playing you. Does she know?" "I tried to tell her yesterday. She accused me of being jealous and told me to mind my own business." "So why are you telling me now?" Melissa was quiet for a long moment. "Because I realized something. I've been Veronica's friend for 15 years, but you've been kind to me for just as long. You fixed my car, helped me move, never made me feel unwelcome in your house, and I've watched her take that for granted." "Melissa, I'm not done." She leaned forward. "I've also realized that I've been in love with the idea of having what you and Veronica had, the house, the stability, the partnership, and watching her throw it away for Derek Morrison made me sick." This was getting complicated. "I need to ask you something," I said. "Have you been manipulating both sides of this?" She looked genuinely confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, did you encourage Veronica's affair? Did you help set up meetings with Derek? Did you push her toward this?" "God, no. I tried to talk her out of it from the beginning." "But you didn't try very hard." She was quiet again, and I could see her thinking. "Maybe you're right. Maybe part of me wanted to see what would happen. Maybe I was curious about whether your marriage was as strong as it looked. And now you know. Now I know that Veronica is an idiot, Derek is a pig, and you're not the pushover everyone thought you were." I finished my coffee and stood up. "What do you want from me, Melissa?" "I want you to be careful. Derek's not just a cheater, he's vindictive. When Veronica finally sees through him, he's going to blame you for breaking them up. Let him try. I'm serious, Rob. He's been asking questions about your business, your finances, your daily routine. I think he's planning something. That was interesting. What kind of questions? Where you keep your tools, whether you have security cameras, what time you usually get home from jobs. Sounds like he's thinking about paying me a visit. Maybe. Or maybe he's just trying to find ways to hurt you. I left Melissa at Murphy's and drove home thinking about what she'd told me. Derek Morrison was planning something and I needed to be ready. When I got home, Veronica was in the kitchen making breakfast. She looked up when I walked in. Where were you? Having coffee with your best friend. Her face went pale. Melissa? She had some interesting things to tell me about Derek. Veronica set down her spatula. What kind of things? I showed her the screenshots Melissa had shared. Veronica read them in silence, her expression shifting from confusion to hurt to fury. He said all this? To his buddies. About you. She sat down hard in one of the kitchen chairs. He told me he loved me. I'm sure he did, right up until he was bragging to his friends about nailing a desperate housewife. Don't what? Tell you the truth? You wanted Derek. This is who Derek is. She was crying now, ugly tears that smeared her makeup. I thought he was different. He was different from me. That's what you wanted. I made a mistake. You made several mistakes. The question is, what are you going to do about them? She looked up at me through her tears. I want to come home. You are home. I mean really home. Back to our bedroom, back to our marriage. That's going to take more than just wanting it, Veronica. I'll do whatever it takes. Will you? Because it's going to be humiliating. You're going to have to admit publicly that you were wrong. You're going to have to apologize to Angela, to your family, to our friends. You're going to have to cut Derek out of your life completely and deal with whatever vindictive thing he does in response. I can do that. We'll see. That afternoon, Veronica called Derek and broke things off. I didn't listen to the conversation, but I could hear his voice through the phone, loud, angry, accusing. When she hung up, she was shaking. He didn't take it well, she said. I didn't expect him to. He said some things. What kind of things? He said he was going to make sure everyone knew what kind of man you really are. He said he was going to ruin your business. Let him try. But as I said it, I was already thinking about security cameras, about changing my work schedule, about making sure Derek Morrison couldn't catch me off guard. The war was just beginning. Derek made his move 3 days later. I was replacing a kitchen sink at the Hendersons' house when Jerome called. Rob, you need to get home now. What's wrong? Derek's at your house. He's got 2 guys with him and they're not here for a friendly chat. I was in my truck and driving before Jerome finished talking. My house was only 10 minutes away, but it felt like an hour. I found Derek's Camaro parked in my driveway like he owned the place. Jerome was standing on the front porch with his arms crossed, and I could see 2 other men through the living room window. What's the situation? I asked Jerome. They showed up about 20 minutes ago. Derek said he was here to get Veronica's things. When I told him she wasn't home, he said he'd wait inside. And you let him in? Hell no, but they pushed past me. I called you instead of the cops because I figured you'd want to handle this yourself. I appreciated Jerome's loyalty, but this was about to get complicated. I walked through my front door like I owned the place, which I did. Derek was sitting in my living room chair with his feet up on my coffee table. His 2 friends were standing by the window, trying to look intimidating. Derek, what a pleasant surprise. He didn't get up. Rob, we need to talk. About what? About how you manipulated my girlfriend into breaking up with me. Your girlfriend? You mean my wife? Ex-wife. Or she will be, once she comes to her senses. I looked at his 2 friends. One was big and soft, probably worked construction when he felt like it. The other was smaller, but had the wiry look of someone who'd been in a lot of fights. I don't believe we've been introduced, I said to them. That's Tommy and Rick. Derek said. They're here to make sure our conversation stays civil. How thoughtful. Jerome, would you mind calling Officer Harris? I think we might need a referee. Derek's feet came off my coffee table. No need for cops. This is just a friendly discussion between men. Is it? Because you're in my house without permission, with two witnesses who look like they're expecting trouble. I'm here because you poisoned Veronica against me. I showed her text messages where you called her a desperate housewife and bragged about using her. How is that poisoning her? Derek stood up, and his friends moved closer. The room suddenly felt smaller. Those messages were private. So was your relationship with my wife, but that didn't stop you from posting about it on Facebook. You humiliated her publicly. She humiliated herself. I just made sure people saw it. Derek took a step toward me. You think you're so smart, don't you? The wronged husband, the victim everyone feels sorry for. I think I'm a man whose wife cheated on him with a car salesman who bragged about it to his drinking buddies. You don't deserve her. Maybe not, but apparently neither do you. That's when Derek swung at me. I'd been expecting it, so I was ready. I ducked the punch and came up with an uppercut that caught him in the solar plexus. He doubled over, gasping. Tommy, the big guy, moved toward me, but Jerome stepped between us. I wouldn't, Jerome said quietly. Rob's been boxing for 20 years, and I've got a concealed carry permit. Rick, the wiry one, looked like he wanted to try his luck anyway, but Derek waved him off. This isn't over, Derek wheezed. Yes, it is, I said. You're going to leave my house now, and you're not going to come back. You're not going to contact my wife. You're not going to drive by my house, and you're not going to threaten my family. Or what? Or I'll press charges for breaking and entering, assault and harassment, and then I'll sue you for alienation of affection. Derek straightened up, still breathing hard. You can't prove alienation of affection. I have months of photographs, text messages, and social media posts, plus whatever other evidence Melissa decides to share. His face went white. Melissa? Your girlfriend's best friend. The one who's been documenting your relationship from the beginning. Derek looked genuinely shocked. She's been spying on us? She's been protecting her friend from a predator. Unfortunately, her friend didn't want to be protected. Derek and his friends left without another word. I watched from the window as they got in the Camaro and drove away. You think that's the end of it? Jerome asked. Not even close. But at least now he knows I'm not going to roll over. That evening, Veronica came home to find me installing a security camera by the front door. Derek came by today, I told her. What did he want? To intimidate me into letting you go back to him. What did you tell him? I told him the truth. That you chose to end things with him because you finally saw who he really is. She was quiet for a moment. He's been calling me all day. I haven't answered. Good. Rob, I'm scared. Of Derek? Of what he might do. He was so angry when I broke up with him. He said things. What kind of things? He said if he couldn't have me, he'd make sure no one could. He said he'd ruin both of us. I finished mounting the camera and tested the angle. Let him try. I'm serious. Derek's not stable. When he gets angry, he does stupid things. Like what? Like keying cars or spreading rumors or... She trailed off. Or what, Veronica? Or worse. He told me stories about getting back at people who crossed him. I thought he was just trying to sound tough, but now I'm not so sure. I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. She was scared. Genuinely scared, and for the first time in months, she was being completely honest with me. Then we'll be ready for him. That night, I installed 3 more cameras around the house and changed the security system to alert my phone for any movement in the yard. If Derek wanted to play games, I'd make sure I knew he was coming. But as I was testing the system, I couldn't shake the feeling that Derek's visit had been more than just intimidation. He'd been looking around my house, noting the layout, checking the windows and doors. He was planning something bigger than a confrontation. The neighborhood barbecue was Angela's idea. "We need to show everyone that our family is okay," she said over breakfast. "All this drama has people talking, and I'm tired of being the girl whose parents are getting divorced." "We might still get divorced," Veronica pointed out. "But right now, you're working on things, and I want people to see that." So we planned a barbecue for the following Saturday. Nothing fancy, just burgers, beer, and a chance for our neighbors to see that the Millers weren't completely dysfunctional. I spent the week preparing. New patio furniture, a thorough cleaning of the backyard, and enough food to feed half the neighborhood. Veronica helped, and for brief moments, it almost felt like old times. Almost. The morning of the barbecue, I was setting up tables when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Enjoy your little party. Hope nothing ruins it. D." I showed the message to Jerome, who was helping me move chairs. "You think he'll actually try something?" Jerome asked. "With this many witnesses, he's not that stupid." "You sure about that?" I wasn't, but the party was happening whether Derek liked it or not. People started arriving around noon. Mrs. Henderson from across the street, the Johnsons from next door, families from up and down Maple Street. Angela invited some of her friends, and Veronica asked a few people from her office. For the first hour, everything went perfectly. The weather was beautiful, the food was good, and people seemed to be having fun. I started to relax. That's when Derek arrived. He walked into my backyard like he'd been invited, wearing khakis and a polo shirt, carrying a six-pack of beer. He looked like any other suburban dad coming to a neighborhood barbecue. "Rob, great party," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Thanks for inviting me." I hadn't invited him, obviously, but calling him out in front of 30 people would cause exactly the kind of scene he was hoping for. "Derek," I said neutrally, "didn't expect to see you here." "Wouldn't miss it. Veronica and I are such good friends." Veronica appeared at my side, her face pale. "Derek, what are you doing here?" "Just being neighborly. This is a neighborhood party, right?" Several people were starting to stare. Mrs. Henderson looked fascinated. This was probably the best gossip she'd had in years. "Actually," I said, "this is a private party on private property, and you're not welcome." "That's not very friendly, Rob. What would people think if they knew you were throwing out a guest?" "They'd think I was protecting my family from someone who's been harassing us." Derek's smile never wavered, but his eyes went cold. "Harassing? That's a strong word. I prefer to think of it as staying involved in the lives of people I care about." Angela appeared next to her mother. "Mom, who is this?" "This is Derek," Veronica said quietly. "He was just leaving. Actually, I thought I'd stay for a while, get to know the family better." That's when I realized what Derek was really doing. He wasn't here to cause a scene. He was here to establish himself as part of our social circle, to make it harder for Veronica to cut him out completely. "Jerome?" I called to my friend, who was manning the grill. "Could you help me with something?" Jerome set down his spatula and walked over. He was a big man, and his presence changed the dynamic immediately. "What can I do for you, Rob?" "Derek was just telling me he needs to leave. Maybe you could walk him to his car." Derek looked between Jerome and me, calculating his odds. "That won't be necessary. I can find my own way out." "I'm sure you can, but Jerome's going to make sure you do." Derek's mask finally slipped. "This isn't over, Rob." "Yes, it is." As Jerome escorted Derek toward the front yard, I turned to address the crowd. Everyone was staring, waiting to see how I'd handle the situation. "Sorry about that, everyone. Sometimes uninvited guests show up at parties. Let's get back to having fun." The conversation gradually resumed, but I could feel the undercurrent of excitement. This story would be told and retold for weeks. Veronica pulled me aside. "How did he know about the barbecue?" "Probably drove by and saw the setup, or maybe someone mentioned it online." "Rob, I'm sorry. I never wanted him to." "It's not your fault. But this proves he's not going to just disappear. The party continued for another 2 hours. People seemed to enjoy themselves, and by the time everyone left, I felt like we'd accomplished what Angela wanted, showing the neighborhood that our family was intact. But as I was cleaning up, I found something that made my blood run cold. Under one of the patio tables, Derek had left an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a message written in block letters. "Your wife chose me once. She'll choose me again. Enjoy your temporary victory." Below that was a photo, Veronica and Derek kissing, but not one of the photos Melissa had taken. This one was recent, taken from inside a car. The timestamp showed it was from 3 days ago. 3 days after Veronica had supposedly ended things with Derek. I found Veronica in the kitchen, washing dishes. "When were you going to tell me?" I asked, showing her the photo. Her face went white. "Rob, I can explain." "I'm sure you can. You're good at explanations." "He called me Tuesday night. He said he was going to hurt himself if I didn't meet him one last time." "So you met him?" "Just to talk, just to make sure he understood it was really over." "And the kiss?" "He kissed me. I didn't kiss him back." I studied the photo. It was hard to tell who had initiated the kiss, but what mattered was that she'd gone to meet him at all. "You lied to me." "I was trying to protect you." "From what?" "From Derek. From the truth about how obsessed he is." "The truth?" "The truth is that you're still seeing him behind my back." "One meeting, Rob. One meeting to try to end this cleanly." "And how did that work out?" She gestured toward the envelope. "Obviously not well." I sat down at the kitchen table, suddenly exhausted. "I can't do this anymore, Veronica." "Can't do what?" "This, us, the lies, the drama, the constant wondering what you're really doing when you're not here." "Rob, please, I know I made a mistake, but..." "You made a choice. Again. When Derek called, you chose to meet him instead of telling me about it. You chose to handle it yourself instead of trusting me to help. I was trying to protect our marriage. You were protecting Derek. Even now, even after everything he's done, you're still protecting him." She started crying, but I was beyond being moved by her tears. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. "I want you to choose, really choose, Derek or me, but I'm not going to keep fighting for a woman who won't fight for her own marriage. I choose you." "Then prove it." "How?" I thought about it for a moment. "Call the police. File a harassment complaint against Derek. Get a restraining order." "Rob, if you're really done with him, if you really want to save our marriage, then you'll do whatever it takes to get him out of our lives permanently. And if I don't, then I'll know where I really stand." Veronica looked at the photo again, then at me. "Okay, I'll call them tomorrow." "Call them now." She picked up her phone and dialed. I listened as she explained the situation to the dispatcher, requested an officer, and gave our address. Officer Harris arrived 20 minutes later. Veronica told him everything: the affair, the breakup, Derek's refusal to accept it, his uninvited appearance at our barbecue, and the threatening note. "Has he made any direct threats?" Harris asked. "Not exactly, but the note is pretty clear about his intentions." Harris read the note and examined the photo. "This is borderline stalking behavior. I can talk to him, make it clear that further contact won't be tolerated." "What about a restraining order?" I asked. "You can file for one, but you'll need more evidence of direct threats or harassment." "What if he shows up here again?" "Then you call us immediately. Don't engage with him, don't let him in the house, just call." After Harris left, Veronica and I finished cleaning up in silence. When we were done, she turned to me. "What happens now?" "Now we see if Derek is smart enough to back off. And if he's not, then we deal with whatever comes next." But as I said it, I was already planning for the worst-case scenario. Derek Morrison had proven he wasn't rational, and irrational people did dangerous things. I was going to make sure my family was protected. Derek's response to the police visit was swift and predictable. At 3 a.m, my security system went off. I checked the cameras from my phone and saw a figure in dark clothes spray painting something on my garage door. By the time I got outside with a flashlight, he was gone, but his message was clear. "Liar," in bright red letters across the white door. I called Officer Harris, who arrived 20 minutes later with a report form and a tired expression. "Security cameras catch his face?" Harris asked. "He was wearing a hood, but the build matches Derek." "That's not enough for an arrest. Could be anyone." "Come on, Harris. Who else would it be?" "I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I need proof that would hold up in court." I spent the next morning cleaning paint off my garage door while neighbors walked by, some stopping to ask what happened, others just slowing down to stare. Mrs. Henderson made a point of bringing me coffee and fishing for details. "Such a shame," she said, watching me scrub. "This used to be such a quiet neighborhood." "Still is, Mrs. Henderson. Just one bad apple causing problems." "That Derek man who came to your party?" "That's the one." She nodded knowingly. "I never liked the look of him. Too much cologne, not enough substance." That afternoon, Veronica came home from work early. "I heard about the garage," she said, finding me in the kitchen. "News travels fast." "Rob, I'm scared. What if he escalates? Then we'll handle it." "How? The police can't do anything until he actually hurts someone." She had a point. Derek was being careful to stay just on the legal side of harassment. "Maybe I should talk to him," Veronica said. "Absolutely not. But if I could make him understand..." "Veronica, the man spray-painted our garage at 3 a.m. He's beyond understanding." That evening, Angela came home from school with news. "Dad, some of my friends are saying Derek's been asking questions about our family." "What kind of questions?" "About where I go to school, what activities I'm in, what time I get home." That changed everything. Going after me was one thing, but involving my daughter crossed a line I couldn't ignore. "Angela, I want you to stay at Madison's house for a few days." "Dad, I'm not going to run away from some creep." "You're not running away, you're being smart." "What about Mom?" I looked at Veronica. "Your mom can make her own decisions." "I'm staying," Veronica said. "If Derek wants to intimidate us, he'll have to do it while I'm here." "This isn't a game, Veronica." "I know it's not. That's why I'm not running." That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside made me check the security cameras. Around midnight, I saw a car drive slowly past the house, but it didn't stop. The next morning brought a new development. Jerome called while I was having coffee. "Rob, you need to know something. Derek's been to my shop." "What did he want?" "Information about you. Your schedule, where you keep your tools, whether you have any enemies." "What did you tell him?" "I told him to get the hell out of my shop before I called the cops." "Did he threaten you?" "Not directly, but he made it clear he was planning something." I hung up and called Officer Harris. "I need to file a formal complaint," I told him. "This has gone beyond harassment." Harris met me at the police station an hour later. I gave him everything: the garage incident, the questions about Angela, Derek's visit to Jerome's shop, the threatening note from the barbecue. "I'll talk to the prosecutor about charges," Harris said, "but I have to warn you, it's still mostly circumstantial." "What would it take for you to arrest him?" "A direct threat, or evidence of him actually committing a crime." "So I have to wait for him to hurt someone?" "I'm not saying that. I'm saying the law requires a certain standard of proof." I left the police station frustrated but not surprised. Derek was smart enough to stay just below the threshold for arrest. That afternoon, I made a decision. I called Derek's workplace, Morrison's used cars on the south side of town. The receptionist put me through to his office. "Rob Miller," Derek said when he picked up. "What a pleasant surprise." "We need to talk." "I'm listening." Not on the phone. Meet me at Murphy's bar in an hour. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, my next call is to your boss, then to the Better Business Bureau, then to every online review site I can find. There was a long pause. You're threatening me? I'm offering you a chance to end this like adults. Fine. 1 hour. Murphy's was nearly empty when I arrived. Derek was already there, sitting in the same booth where Melissa had confessed to being my anonymous informant. You look tired, Rob, Derek said as I sat down. I've had better weeks. Maybe you should take a vacation. I hear Cancun is nice this time of year. Maybe you should stop spray painting people's garages at 3 in the morning. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. I leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen, Derek. You're going to stop driving by my house, stop asking questions about my family, and stop trying to intimidate me. Or what? Or I'm going to make your life very difficult. Derek laughed. You? You're going to make my life difficult? You're a handyman, Rob. I'm a businessman with connections. Let me tell you about my connections. I've done work for half the people in this town, plumbing, electrical, roofing. I know where all the bodies are buried, including yours. His smile faded slightly. I know about the odometer tampering at your dealership. I know about the kickbacks from the financing company. I know about the cocaine you keep in your desk drawer. Derek's face went white. You're bluffing. Try me. We stared at each other across the table. Finally, Derek spoke. What do you want? I want you to disappear. Find a new town, a new job, a new life. Somewhere far away from my family. And if I don't? Then I start making phone calls. The state attorney general might be very interested in your business practices. Derek stood up abruptly. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. He left without another word. I sat in the booth for another 10 minutes, making sure he was really gone, then drove home. Veronica was waiting in the living room. Where were you? Having a conversation with Derek. Rob, what did you do? I gave him a choice. He can leave town voluntarily, or I can make staying here very unpleasant for him. You threatened him? I offered him a business proposition. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. I'd played my final card, and now we'd see if Derek was smart enough to fold. The answer came 2 days later when Jerome called with news. Derek's gone, he said. Cleaned out his office yesterday, told his boss he was moving to Florida for a family emergency. Just like that? Just like that. Word is he left town this morning. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It's over. Looks like it. What did you say to him? I reminded him that small towns have long memories and that some secrets are better left buried. And he believed you? He believed enough. That evening, I told Veronica and Angela the news. Angela was relieved, but Veronica seemed almost disappointed. I can't believe he just left, she said. What did you expect him to do? I don't know. Fight for me, maybe? I stared at her. You wanted him to fight for you? No, I thought what we had meant more to him. What you had was an affair, Veronica. It wasn't a grand romance. I know that. It's just what? It's just hard to accept that I threw away our marriage for someone who ran away at the first sign of trouble. I sat down next to her on the couch. Is that what you did? Threw away our marriage? I don't know. Did I? It was a good question. We'd been through hell over the past month, but we were still here, still talking, still trying to figure out what came next. That depends, I said finally. On what? On whether you're ready to be honest? With me, with yourself, with Angela? About what? About why you had the affair in the first place. She was quiet for a long moment. I felt invisible, she said finally. Like I was just part of the furniture in this house. And Derek made you feel visible? He made me feel wanted, desired. Like I was still attractive and interesting. And I didn't? Not for a long time. It hurt to hear, but it was probably true. I'd been so focused on building the business, maintaining the house, paying the bills, that I'd stopped seeing Veronica as anything more than my partner in domestic logistics. So what do we do now? I asked. I don't know. Can we fix this? I don't know either. But maybe we can try. What would that look like? It would look like starting over. New rules, new expectations, new ways of being married. I'd like that. It won't be easy. There's a lot of trust to rebuild. I know. And it might not work. I know that too. We sat in silence for a while, both of us thinking about the road ahead. Finally, Veronica spoke. Rob? Yeah? I'm sorry. For all of it. I know you are. Are you sorry for anything? I thought about it. I'm sorry I let us drift apart. I'm sorry I stopped seeing you as anything more than Angela's mother and my business partner. And I'm sorry I handled my feelings by having an affair instead of talking to you about them. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. So what now? Veronica asked. Now we see if we can remember why we fell in love in the first place. And if we can't, then at least we'll know we tried. Angela appeared in the doorway, having obviously been listening. Are you guys going to be okay? She asked. We're going to try, I said. Good, because I'm tired of living in a war zone. No more war zones, Veronica promised. From now on, we handle our problems like adults. Does that mean I can bring friends over again without worrying about drama? Yes, I said. The drama is officially over. As I said it, I realized it was true. Derek was gone, Veronica and I were talking honestly for the first time in years, and Angela could go back to being a normal teenager instead of a casualty in her parents' marriage. It wasn't a happy ending, not yet, but it was a new beginning, and sometimes that's enough. 3 months later, Veronica and I were in marriage counseling, working through our issues with a professional who didn't take sides and didn't let us get away with easy answers. It was hard work, harder than renovating the house, but it was worth it. Angela started bringing friends around again, and the house filled with teenage laughter and the smell of pizza. Mrs. Henderson stopped asking pointed questions about our marriage and went back to complaining about her neighbor's dog. Derek never came back. Jerome heard through the grapevine that he'd found a job at a car lot in Tampa, but I didn't ask for details. Some chapters are better left closed. One evening, as Veronica and I were painting the guest room, together this time, she asked me something. Do you think we would have figured this out without Derek? What do you mean? I mean, would we have realized how broken we were if I hadn't had the affair? I thought about it while I rolled paint onto the wall. Maybe, eventually. Or maybe we would have just drifted further apart until we were strangers living in the same house. Maybe. So, in a weird way, Derek did us a favor. I wouldn't go that far. But he forced us to confront our problems instead of ignoring them. True, but there were probably better ways to do that than sleeping with a car salesman. She laughed, and I realized it was the first time I'd heard her really laugh in months. You're never going to let me forget that, are you? That you had an affair with a car salesman? Probably not. Fair enough. I deserve that. We painted in comfortable silence for a while. Then Veronica said something that surprised me. I'm glad you fought for us. I thought I was fighting against you. You were fighting for our marriage, even when I wasn't. I was fighting for my house and my dignity. Same thing in the end. Maybe she was right. Maybe fighting for my house, my family, and my marriage were all the same battle. Maybe that's what it meant to be a husband and father, to defend what matters, even when the people you're defending don't appreciate it. Rob? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For not giving up on us. I looked at her, paint splattered, hair pulled back, working beside me to repair something we'd both damaged, and I realized something. I was still in love with my wife. It was different from the young love we'd started with, more complicated and harder earned, but it was real, and it was ours, and it was worth fighting for. "Thank you for coming back," I said. "Thank you for letting me." We finished the room as the sun was setting, and when we were done, it looked like a place where people could start over, which I guess was exactly what we were doing.